an effort to emphasize Canadian innovation, Burlington's Ron Foss is working to get his grandfather's contribution to automotive history recognized on the federal level. Nikki Wesley explains how the first combustion engine automobile was created and how you may be able to help.
After a disappointing ride in an electric car in Boston, machinist and bicycle mechanic George Foss came home to Sherbrooke, Quebec, and decided to build a better motor car.
So over the course of the 1896-97 winter, he built an automobile and decided that a combustion engine was the way to do it. And in 1897, he rolled the car out for the very first time and ran up and down the streets of Sherbrooke without any difficulty whatsoever. And for 4 years, he drove it around Sherbrooke and Montreal.
However, the Fossmobile was not recognized as a triumph by everyone in Sherbrooke.
How it scared the horses, it got stuck in the mud, that even some people were completely spooked by it because it made a lot of noise. Nobody had seen a car running around without a team of horses in front of it, right?
With that public perception, George decided not to go into mass production, despite offers from Henry Ford to go into business together.
He just didn't want to be part of a bigger organization. He preferred to work for himself. He preferred, as I said, sort of the more simplified aspects of life. And, even when he was older, he said he never had any regrets.
George's grandson, Ron Foss, completed a replica of the Fossmobile in 2022. It's now a permanent display at the Canadian Automotive Museum in Oshawa. 3 years ago, the Quebec Anglophone Heritage Network submitted a nomination to make George Foot Foss a person of historical interest to the Canadian Historic Sites and Monuments Board. That application was turned down twice.
But it was the board itself that said, we really think you should resubmit a third time, but this time for the building of the Fossmobile as an event of historical significance. So we were pretty excited by that because when we looked at the criteria, it was a better fit. We repackaged all the materials. We repartnered with the Quebec Anglophone Heritage Network. We also got the National Association of Automobile Clubs of Canada involved because they have been an oversight group for vintage automobiles for a long time. They have provided us with recognition for what we've done and accomplished. So we wanted to make sure that we were going back to the Monuments Board on the basis that it wasn't just a family trying to make noise over all of this, but that we had support.
Unfortunately, last Friday, the event application was declined, reasoning it did not have long-term effects on Canadians.
And their other factor is that it was maybe a little too local. Well, all events start somewhere, right? They all have to happen at some particular point. And I think one of the gaps with the committee, as I read between the lines or try to reconcile what they go through. The Fossmobile itself and George himself didn't create a brand. There wasn't any brand excellence behind the Fossmobile, as Ford, let's say, did. If you ask Canadians, we'll often say, yeah, it was Ford that built the first car. Well, Ford didn't even build the first car in the US, so that's very secondary. And we don't think that George should be defaulted simply because he didn't create a brand. That's a secondary aspect to the event. The event was that he was in a workshop, that he meticulously built a combustion engine, he added it to the front of a buggy, and it became an automobile, which he then drove successfully for 4 years in Sherbrooke and Montreal.
To bring further Canadian voices of support, Ron started a petition. You can find it at change.org by searching Fossmobile. For Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.